If you're an IMG and you're applying for internal medicine residency, what programs in the state of New York should you be targeting? Well, that's the focus of today's video. I'm Dr. Rajani Katta, and I'm the author of multiple books for medical students and applicants, including The Successful Match, Rules for Success in the Residency Match. I'm also a member of MD2B, and we've worked with many IMGs over the years. And one of the states that most IMGs target is the state of New York. And that makes sense because the state of New York is one of the largest in the United States. It's one of the most diverse in the United States. And it has a total of 64 internal medicine residency programs. So it's obvious there's a lot of programs there that you could be considering. However, I want to really focus in on the point that you should not necessarily be applying to all of those residency programs. Instead, you might want to consider targeting the ones that are considered to be the most IMG friendly. And that's the focus of today's video, where we're going to highlight the top 20 most IMG friendly internal medicine residency programs in the state of New York. Now, how do we come to that conclusion? Well, it's not just about the number, the percentage of residents that are IMGs in a program, because it's far more nuanced and complex than that. Instead, we take into account different factors, and that includes things such as the number of years since medical school graduation, your minimum USMLE score requirements at some of these programs, minimum U.S. clinical experience requirements at some of these programs. So depending on what the program seeks and what you bring, what your characteristics are, you need to really seriously think about targeting specific programs within this great number of internal medicine residency programs in the state of New York. So with that, here's our list of the top 20 most IMG friendly IM programs in the state of New York. In this roundup of our top 20 IMG friendly internal medicine programs in New York State, I want to start with St. Barnabas Hospital program in the Bronx, where 100% of current residents are IMGs. They do have pretty strong USMLE cutoff scores, so they prefer at least a 245 on step 1 and step 2, and passage on the first attempt. Although they don't require U.S. clinical experience, they do specify a graduation year cutoff, but it's pretty generous. They prefer graduates who have completed medical school within the past 10 years. They do offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. So this may be an ideal program for certain applicants who are seeking visas and who have very strong step 1 and step 2 scores. Another program is Bassett Medical Center program, and this is in Cooperstown, New York, where 100% are IMGs. Their step 1 and step 2 cutoff scores are not as elevated, so they require a 215 on step 1 and step 2. They also offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. They do prefer graduation from medical school within the past 5 years. The United Health Services Hospitals program in Johnson City, New York, has 100% of current residents are IMGs. They also have USMLE cutoff scores of at least a 220 step 1 and step 2. They prefer U.S. clinical experience, and they prefer graduation within the past 5 years. They also offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. The Harlem Hospital Center program has 100% of their current residents are IMGs. They do not have cutoff scores. They just prefer passage on the first attempt of step 1 and step 2. They prefer graduation from medical school within the past 5 years. They offer a J1 visa. The Bronx Care Health System program is in the Bronx. Almost all of their residents are IMGs at 99%. They also have pretty strong cutoff scores of a 245 for step 1 and step 2, but they do not specify any cutoff for medical school graduation year. They also offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. The One Brooklyn Health System Interfaith Medical Center program in Brooklyn is another program to consider because at 99%, almost all their residents are IMGs. They do specify at least an 85th percentile for step 1 and step 2, and they prefer passage on the first attempt. I will point out that they are another program that has no specific cutoff for graduation year from medical school. So this might be a program that opens up to certain applicants. They do offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. The SUNY Health Science Center at Brooklyn primary care program, has 75% of residents are IMGs. They do not have a minimum cutoff score for step 1 or step 2 or graduation year from medical school. They offer a J1 and an F1 visa. The Family Health Centers at NYU Langone program in Brooklyn, 76%, so a fairly high percentage are IMGs. They do not specify a minimum cutoff for step 1 or step 2, but they do note that their average is 227 for both. They prefer medical school graduation within the past 5 years. And one thing I'm going to highlight here is that they prefer/require at least a year of hands-on U.S. clinical experience. So this is a program where if you have an extensive amount of hands-on experience or are able to make a plan to obtain that hands-on clinical experience, this might put you into contention for this program where other applicants would not be. They offer a J1 visa. Another program is the Garnett Health Medical Center program in Middletown, New York, where close to half, 40%, are IMGs. Now, they do not have minimum cutoff scores, but they do prefer passage of step 1 and step 2 on your first attempt. They also prefer graduation within the past 3 years. I'll also point out that they prefer at least 6 months of direct patient care in order to be considered for this program. They do not offer visas. The Rochester Regional Health Unity Hospital program in Rochester, New York, which again, a lovely town and full of history. I spent one vacation there and really interesting city. They have 90% of their current residents are IMGs. And they do not have a minimum step 1 or step 2 cutoff score. They do prefer med school graduation within the past 5 years, and they do prefer U.S. clinical experience. And they offer both J1 and an H1B visa. So this might be a program to consider for certain applicants. The University at Buffalo program is another program to consider in Buffalo, New York, where over half are IMGs at 59%. Now, they do have strong requirements for step 1 and step 2, where they prefer passage on the first attempt at greater than the 90th percentile. Having said that, they do not have requirements for graduation year, for year of medical school graduation. They offer a J1 visa. The New York Medical College Metropolitan Program in New York is almost all IMGs at 97%. They prefer passage on the first attempt, and they have cutoff scores of 220 for step 1 and step 2. They do not have a graduation year cutoff. And for some applicants, this is very important, they offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. The Rochester General Hospital program in Rochester, New York, almost all are IMGs at 96%. They do have a cutoff score of 220 and 225, step 1 and step 2, and they do prefer that you have U.S. clinical experience. Of note, they do not have a specified medical school graduation year cutoff. They also offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. St. John's Riverside Hospital program is in Yonkers, and it is 39% IMGs. They don't have a step 1 or step 2 cutoff score. They also do not have a cutoff score for year of medical school graduation. They do require a minimum of 8 to 12 weeks of U.S. clinical experience. They do not offer any visas. So this is a program that might be ideal for somebody who does not require a visa, maybe who is a U.S. citizen IMG, who is able to obtain U.S. clinical experience and might still be considered in contention, even if their year of med school graduation was years in the past. The Jacob E. Medical Center Albert Einstein College of Medicine program in the Bronx, almost all IMGs, 94%. They do have strong requirements with a cutoff score of 240 for step 2 with passage on the first attempt. They do prefer graduation within the past 5 years. They offer both a J1 and an H1B visa. Another program is the Montefiore Medical Center Albert Einstein College of Medicine Wakefield campus program, also in the Bronx, where almost all applicants are IMGs at 98%. They do have cutoff scores of a 230 for both step 1 and step 2. They do prefer that you have U.S. clinical experience. Their graduation year cutoff is fairly generous, just graduation within the past 8 years. I'll also point out that this is a program that also offers both a J1 and an H1B visa. The Econ School of Medicine at Mount Sinai Morningside West program in New York, a majority are IMGs at 68%. They do not specify a cutoff score. They just specify passage on the first attempt for step 1 and step 2. They also prefer medical school graduation within the past 2 years. Also, this is another program that offers both a J1 and an H1B visa. The Zucker School of Medicine at Hofstra Northwell at Staten Island University Hospital program is in Staten Island, where a majority are IMGs at 67%. They don't have cutoff scores. They just prefer passage of step 1 and step 2 on the first attempt. They also prefer U.S. clinical experience as well as med school graduation within the past 2 years. I'll also highlight that this is another program that offers both a J1 and an H1B visa. The Westchester Medical Center program in Valhalla has 22% IMGs, so not as high as some of the others, but this is a program to consider. They do not have any cutoff scores for step 1 or step 2. They do prefer that you have graduated medical school, however, within the past 5 years. This is another program that offers both a J1 and an H1B visa. And I'll also highlight the Zucker School of Medicine at Hofstra Northwell at Lenox Hill Hospital program in New York. 16% are IMGs, so not as many as some of the other programs. They do have a cutoff score of at least 220. They prefer U.S. clinical experience and graduation from medical school within the past 3 years. They offer a J1 visa. So that completes our roundup of the internal medicine programs in New York State that we consider to be IMG friendly. So that was a number of them to consider. And as you're applying, I want to wish you all the best. I'm Dr. Rajani Katta with my partner Samir Desai and our colleagues at MD2B and MD2B Connect. And we're wishing you all the best with your applications.